How you doing? This is the no-brainer on buying a new car. If you're looking to buy some wheels, you've got the right tape. So let's get started.
Everybody likes a new car.
That new car feel, that new car smell, that new car look the neighbors give you as you ease that baby into the driveway.
But there are pitfalls to the whole car buying process, and that's where this tape comes in handy. This no-brainer will guide you through the sometimes complicated, sometimes glorious process of buying a car.
We've researched the process. We've lobbied the experts, including nationally recognized automotive consumer expert and co-host of Motor Week, Pat Goss, and Jonathan Parker, an adult education instructor specializing in car buying techniques. These guys have peppered this tape with some hot car buying tips.
And we've brought our information to you all wrapped up in an inexpensive plastic videotape casing. Quick and easy. That's a no-brainer.
We've also included a small booklet with this tape. In it, you'll find an outline of the material we'll cover, as well as terms and definitions that will get you through the irksome process of buying a car. There's even a full notes section that contains the addresses of some internet sites and the names of some consumer resource publications, all of which will help ease the annoyance and confusion of the car buying process. And conveniently, it repels salespeople.
Part 1, the decision stage.
In some ways, buying a car is like shopping for groceries.
Yeah, okay, I totally see what you're saying. I get the tangerines in the summertime, I pick out a nice loaf of wheat bread, I get some dried cereal, and I get some bulk candy and maybe a box of macaroni, and I pick up my TV guide on the way out, and it's about 18 thou.
For instance, when you go to the grocery store, you make a list. If you're a smart shopper, you know exactly what you want ahead of time, and you won't wind up buying a $12 jar of mayonnaise. You are a prepared shopper. The same is true for buying a car. You want to have an idea of what you want ahead of time.
Because of this, it's important to narrow down your choice of automobiles before you shop with intent to buy. Your best bet is to narrow down your choice to a single vehicle or a really small number of vehicles.
Now, if you already know what kind of automobile you want to buy, you've jumped your first hurdle. But maybe you don't know what you want. Maybe no vehicle has cried out to you and said, "Hey, buyer, I'm your vehicle of choice." Well, if that's the case, listen up and we'll give you some examples of resources and methods that'll help you narrow down your choices.
Section A, choosing a car.
There are a whole bunch of resources that can help you decide which vehicle is the vehicle for you. They are personal preference, friends and relatives, consumer resources, enthusiast resources, and the test drive. We'll start with personal preference.
Resource number 1, personal preference.
I guess it's pretty obvious that one's personal preference is a powerful guiding force. Whether you're choosing a home, whether you're choosing a college, or whether you're choosing a mate, personal preference will always be an overriding determining factor. The same could be said for buying a car.
When deciding on a new car, remember that for most drivers, cars that meet only the most basic needs will soon become boring. Always try to fulfill as many of your wants as possible, and you'll probably be happier longer.
If you're trying to nail down the type of vehicle that best suits you, make out a checklist. This checklist should include factors like vehicle type, characteristics, brand, options, price range, and operating costs.
Vehicle type is the first category to consider. Are you a sports car person? Do you want a compact car, a mid-size car, a luxury car, a minivan, a sports utility vehicle, or a pickup? The choice is yours, and the sooner you make it, the easier it'll be when you're on that lot.
Once you've winnowed down your vehicle type, your next step is to figure out what characteristics you're looking for in an automobile.
What characteristic do you value most? Are you safety conscious? If so, you'll want to scope out vehicles with the best safety features. Features like frontal airbags, side-mounted airbags, anti-lock brakes, and all-wheel drive. Or maybe you're more economy-minded and want to search for a less expensive vehicle that gets great gas mileage. Or perhaps you're in the market for a car whose value will depreciate less over time. In any event, these are questions you should ask yourself when figuring out your personal preference.
And the categories framing personal preference don't stop there. You got brands. Do you want a Ford, a BMW, a Lincoln? It's up to you. But you've also got options. Do you need a sunroof, power windows, power steering? Your choice. Needless to say, making a list of your preferences in these categories can significantly narrow down your vehicle choices. And it's important to narrow down your choices. Trust us.
Resource number 2, friends and relatives.
Uncles, aunts, grandparents, lifelong friends. We're all familiar with these people, so who better to tap for information concerning our own selfish needs? It's given that your very own friends and relatives can be a great resource for vehicle information.
Now, kids, back in my day, there was no factory-to-customer rebate. We built our own cars out of scrap metal and chocolate pieces. All the while, the Germans, they riddled us with bullets. Boo, boom, boo, boom, boo.
It's fairly probable that one of your friends or relatives has a vehicle that you like, and therefore you can get first-hand information about that vehicle.
In addition to that, you can take the borrowed vehicle out for numerous extended test drives.
Now, be careful.
Don't wait up, Grandma.
So if you have a friend or relative whose opinion you value, ask them for their automobile recommendation. Poll your friends and relatives who have vehicles that interest you for both their praise and criticism. They can give you the inside scoop on how these vehicles perform over time. This will help you narrow your choices.
Resource number 3, consumer resources.
There's a whole bunch of consumer resources out there, and they're yours for the taking. These babies contain all kinds of factual information and objective analysis on different kinds of automobiles. Where do you find this stuff? Well, look no further than your local library. Or, if you're holed up in your home and you're afraid to leave, look no further than the World Wide Web at some of the sites we've listed on the booklet included with this tape.
There are 3 different kinds of consumer resources: consumer periodicals, cost of ownership guides, and price guides. We'll go over these resources now, starting with consumer periodicals.
Magazines like Consumer Reports and Consumer's Guide are just a few of the helpful consumer periodicals you can find at your local bookstore or library. These magazines offer concise automobile reviews with a consumer focus.
With an emphasis on dollar value, these magazines examine all kinds of stuff like safety, reliability, and economy. They even distinguish vehicles that have the best value within each vehicle category with the label Best Buy.
And that's not all. You can find reviews of particular vehicles in automotive buying guides put out by these magazines, or you can look in the index of a current issue for a particular vehicle review from a past issue.
Cost of ownership guides are also great resources for car shoppers. These guides provide car buyers with thorough cost of ownership information. This includes categories like maintenance, fuel, insurance, and depreciation.
What's more, these miraculous pages of information identify the best value in each vehicle category.
Finally, price guides provide complete price information for a vehicle. This includes the manufacturer-suggested retail price, or MSRP, which is the price on the window sticker that the manufacturers placed on the vehicle, and the dealer invoice price, which is the price the dealer pays to the manufacturer for a vehicle. We'll explain why knowing each of these prices is important in just a little bit. In any event, these guides also include the price for base models of automobiles and all the possible options you could purchase. This information is more extensive than what you'll find in the consumer periodicals or the cost of ownership guides, so price guides are important.
Resource number 4, enthusiast resources.
Another easily accessible resource is the Automobile Enthusiast magazine. Automobile enthusiast magazines like Car and Driver and Motor Trend offer a different perspective that a lot of car buyers find helpful.
These magazines place more of an emphasis on performance, styling, and technology. A lot of the time, these magazines test a similar group of vehicles head-to-head and then rank them according to these judging criteria.
Resource number 5, test drive.
A thorough test drive of any car is a must. How else will you know if it fits your every need and desire for styling, features, comfort? Hey, I sound just like a car commercial. Styling and comfort. Ergonomically designed leather interior. Anyway, you need to see, feel, and experience for yourself in order to know. It'll make a big difference in determining your attitude towards the car.
So how do you go about test driving a vehicle? Well, typically, your only choice will be to take a test drive at a dealership. You'll have to find a dealership that has the vehicle you want. In the process, you'll probably get some pressure to buy. Just don't let any pushy dealers bully you into a premature purchase. You have the right to a test drive, so make the most of it. Your road test should mimic the kind of driving you typically do. So, before you arrive at the dealership, scout the streets and roads nearby so you know where to go on the test drive.
If you know a friend or relative who owns the type of vehicle you're interested in, sometimes it's less aggravating to approach them for a test drive. This is to your advantage because you usually get a more thorough test drive. It's also easier to stomach your friend's pressure to take in his or her dry cleaning than a dealer's pressure to buy a car.
Finally, if you really feel compelled to take an extended test drive and have some money to burn, you can find a rental agency that has the car you're interested in. Then you can take a really extended look at the vehicle, but it'll cost you.
And there you have it. Those are the resources that'll help guide you towards the right vehicle for you. But wait, now maybe this is your first vehicle. Maybe you've been riding the bus, bumming rides off of friends and hailing cabs for years. If that's the case, hats off to you. You can skip the next section. But if that's not the case, if outside your door is a sad, loyal, four-wheeled friend whose time has finally come, you'll want to pay special attention to
Section B, your old car.
We've had some good times together, Lightning. You remember when we went to the beach and I changed into my bathing suit in your back seat? Yeah, I know. I was embarrassed too.
It's never easy to say goodbye to an old automobile. The disposal of your old car should never be taken lightly. How you handle getting rid of your old car can impact the circumstances of your new purchase.
You're making this harder than it has to be. Don't look at me like that.
If you have to get rid of your old car before you buy a brand spanking new one, there are 3 main ways to accomplish this. You can sell it yourself, trade it in, or you can donate it to charity. We'll give you the details on each of these methods.
Selling it yourself.
Of the 3 used car disposal methods, selling your own car will bring in the most money. If you sell it, chances are you'll be able to get somewhere in the neighborhood of the used retail price.
Resources that can help you find the retail value of your car are the NADA Blue Book and the Kelly Blue Book. These books can usually be found in your local library or bookstore.
It's also good to look at the places you'll be advertising your vehicle to get a feel for the sale prices of similar vehicles. Newspaper classifieds, automotive-specific classifieds, the internet, all of these spots are great for price comparison.
Trading it in.
No matter how you slice it, you'll receive less money trading in your vehicle than you will if you sell it yourself. The upside of this, though, is that it's low on the hassle factor and might be the best option for you if your vehicle's in bad shape. Also, the trade-in price is often negotiable, so put your haggling powers to good use. You can use the same resources, the NADA and the Kelly Blue Books, to figure out your vehicle's trade-in value.
Donating it to charity.
If your vehicle's in bad shape, your best option just might be to donate it to charity, like the Salvation Army. Because if you do this, it's possible that the tax break you'll receive will be even higher than the minimum amount you'd get in a trade-in. It's food for thought. Because remember, one man's trash is another man's treasure. It's me, yo.
And those are the 3 main ways you can get rid of your former automobile. Choose wisely. The cash you save will be your own.
Honey, come get a picture of me in the car.
Section C, purchase or lease.
So there you are. You stand at a transportation chasm. You're nearly prepared to make that decision to buy a permanent set of wheels that, barring any unforeseen atomic catastrophe, will last you a very long time. But wait, stop. Go no further. You still have an important decision to make. That decision, buy or lease.
Buying, leasing, buying. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. So it's important to weigh all of the factors that go into buying and leasing in order to decide which route is the best for you. So let's take a look at the facts.
Leasing.
There are pros and cons to leasing a car. Let's have a look at them.
The upside.
When you lease an automobile, there's typically a low down payment or sometimes no down payment at all. For many buyers, this is a big plus. No one likes to plunk down cash in a lump sum, and some people avoid it at all costs, no matter what the circumstances.
I have your son.
Is it possible to pay the ransom in low-interest monthly installments as opposed to one lump sum?
I have your son.
Can I lease the boy from you?
In addition to this, leasing a car involves lower monthly payments, which is also a plus for those who like to save their money in a plan to take over the world. But the benefits don't stop there.
If you lease an automobile, you have the ability, if you choose, to drive a nicer vehicle than if you purchased one. You also don't have to worry about the extra effort of disposal. Because when the lease is up, you don't have to sell your car, trade it in, or donate it to the Salvation Army. You can just turn it in and lease another one.
You can even get some tax benefits if your leased vehicle is used primarily for business purposes. Not too shabby. But is leasing flawless? Sadly, no.
The downside.
Leasing is anything but flawless. There's a big downside. First off, when you lease a car, you can be penalized for racking up excess mileage on your car over the lease period. You can also be penalized if you don't take care of your vehicle and put it through excess wear and tear. And you can't make any modifications on the vehicle. But that's not all. The process of leasing a vehicle is a lot more complex a process than buying one.
When you lease a car, there's a whole bunch of confusing terms and plenty of opportunity to be the victim of fraud, misrepresentation, and downright evil. And on top of all that, analysis has shown that leasing, while it looks good, is actually more expensive than purchase because you're not building equity. And in the end, when the lease is up, you don't have anything to show for it.
So those are the pros and cons of leasing a car. If you want more detailed information on leasing, you can find it in the consumer resources we mentioned earlier. But before you go running out to the newsstand, why not have a look at the pros and cons of actually buying an automobile?
Buying that vehicle.
Actually, buying an automobile is pretty straightforward once you find your vehicle type. You can pay cash, or you can finance until you own the vehicle outright, a process that we'll talk about later on. But buying still does have its pros and cons.
The upside.
If you want to keep your car for at least 3 to 4 years, then most likely buying is the best option for you. First off, the vehicle will cost you less money, because when you buy a car, you build equity in the car that can be used to buy a vehicle in the future. Secondly, buying a car is a simpler transaction. To buy a vehicle, you figure out a purchase price, then you finance it with a simple interest loan, and you don't have to worry about excess mileage, modifications, or wear and tear as you would with a lease.
You can spill milkshakes on the interior, paint the vehicle like a bad Smurf cartoon, or melt it down into a bust of yourself.
The downside.
Buying a car does have its hassles. First off, if you buy a car and for some reason you have to sell it within the first year or so of your loan, you might not be able to sell it for what you owe. Essentially, you're paying off a lot of the interest on the loan in the first year, but not much of the balance on the car. So in the end, you might owe more than you get for the car. In car buying lingo, that's what's known as being upside down. Plus, if you buy a car and you want to get the best interest rate possible on your loan, you have to fork over a nice hefty down payment. You may not be able to afford the vehicle you really want because you can't afford the large down payment, or your monthly payments might be too high.
Well, there you have it, all spelled out for you. The glories and the pitfalls of leasing and buying. Weigh the options, see which one is best for you. Only you can decide. Now, let's move on to part 2.
Part 2, the preparation stage.
So you're ready to go in for the kill. You've decided on your vehicle of choice, you've researched the costs, figured out how to get rid of your old vehicle, and decided that you want to buy. You're in pretty good shape. But don't rush into that dealership with guns a-blazing just yet. There's still a few more preparations you should make. For instance, how do you plan on paying for those wheels?
Section A, financing.
It's definitely a good idea to figure out how you're going to finance your vehicle before you attempt to purchase it. If you're uncertain about how you plan to pay, it might leave you wide open to manipulation.
All right, Mr. Kaplan. I've drawn up our standard firstborn son payment plan. If you could just sign right there at the bottom.
We can't stress enough how important it is for you to map out your financing options ahead of time. In fact, let's take a look at the 3 routes you can take to finance your automobile purchase.
Dealer financing.
Dealer financing is always one way to go when you're looking to finance your car, especially if the dealership is offering a promotional interest rate. But more often than not, you'll find that any interest rate you can obtain through a dealership will be higher than an interest rate you can obtain elsewhere. The only catch is that sometimes dealer financing is the only option for people with bad credit.
Banks and credit unions.
Banks. Banks have money. You need money. Banks can loan you money. So, if you're arranging for your own financing, it's a good idea to shop around and check out interest rates at local banks. Even better, if you belong to a credit union, they typically have better rates than banks. It's also really convenient to get your loan pre-approved, so that all you have to do is pick up your check after you make the deal for your new vehicle.
Cash money.
If you have the cash to buy a car, more power to you. Not all of us have $20,000 or so to throw around, and if you do, may the road rise up to meet you and the wind be always at your back. Paying in cash is low hassle, but if you do decide to pay in cash, it might be a good idea to find out whether financing the vehicle and investing the cash will actually save you money in the long run. Just a tip from a guy who knows the value of a dollar.
And those are the three main ways you can finance your new automobile. Now, before you go rushing out to buy that funmobile, there's still more to be done. I know, you're eager. You want your wheels and you want them now. But believe me, there's more preparation to be done. But don't take my word for it. Ask this randomly sampled car salesman.
There is a great deal of preparation involved in buying a car. Stay tuned for the next section of this informative and witty videotape.
How can you argue with that?
Section B, cost research.
Sales is a slippery and elusive game. When you walk onto a car lot, you'll see a bunch of prices staring back at you from glistening car windshields. There's a lot more hidden in those numbers than you might expect.
In this next section, we'll explain what goes into the numbers you see on that price tag.
There it is, the price of this automobile. But is this really the price of the automobile? Does it have to be this high? The answer, no. The number you see displayed on car windows at a dealership is the MSRP, or the manufacturer's suggested retail price.
This price is exactly what it sounds like, the amount the automobile's manufacturer suggests the dealer should charge for the vehicle. Generally, you should wind up paying less than this price. This price is the dealer's shot in the dark, an initial effort to make as much money off you as they can. Sometimes dealers even jack up the price, displaying a price even higher than the MSRP. So it's important to remember that these prices are meant to be haggled down. Bear in mind, the bulk of people who pay the MSRP are uninformed, impatient, or rich guys who wear monocles and top hats.
So you know that the MSRP of a vehicle is made for negotiation. The question is, how can you gain leverage from this? How can you prepare yourself to negotiate? Well, the best way to do this is to figure out how much the dealer actually paid the manufacturer for the vehicle. And thankfully, there's a formula to help you do this. We'll give you this formula, then we'll define the strange little moon man terms we use in the formula, then we'll give you the formula again. Let's do it.
The basic formula for calculating a dealer's cost is this: invoice price plus advertising fee minus holdback minus factory-to-dealer incentives equals the cost to the dealer.
So there's your super secret dealer formula. Unfortunately, one question remains. What does all this carhead jargon mean? Allow us to explain.
Invoice price.
The invoice price is the dealer's base cost for the vehicle. It includes the price of all options for the vehicle and the price of shipping. Publications like Consumer's Guide and Pace Buyer's Guide often have invoice price information. Just make sure you're looking at a recent publication, because manufacturers change their prices at breakneck speed. I'm shooting a videotape here.
Advertising fee.
Some manufacturers charge their dealers a fee to cover advertising costs based on the dealer's region. This isn't cause for alarm. The dealer isn't trying to put one over on you, pull a fast one, or attempt any other cliche for dishonesty. This is a legitimate cost and will usually be itemized on the price tag, although some manufacturers just include it in the base price of the car. Nevertheless, it's a good idea for you to know it exists when figuring out the dealer's cost.
Holdback.
Hey, guess what? Most manufacturers give back a set percentage of a portion of the MSRP or invoice price to the dealers at set monthly or quarterly intervals. This reduces the cost of the vehicle to the dealer. Pretty crafty, huh? This enables the dealer to sell a vehicle at or below the invoice price and still make money. How's that grab you, huh? Well, you can bet it's pretty good information to have when you're negotiating the price of your vehicle. Holdback information and apparently everything else in the universe can be found in some of the consumer resources we talked about earlier. So get off your keister and buy one.
Factory to dealer incentives.
Sometimes a manufacturer will offer factory-to-dealer incentives on a vehicle. These incentives are unadvertised sums of money paid directly to the dealer if a vehicle is sold. Sometimes a dealer tells a customer about these incentives, sometimes not. Either way, these incentives lower the cost of the vehicle to the dealership and should be used when you calculate the vehicle's true cost. Now, can you guess where to find the amount of the factory-dealer incentives on the vehicle you want to buy? Yep, that's right. The consumer resources we've been mentioning throughout this tape. Also, because incentives change with the wind direction, it might be a good idea to search for this information on the internet. You can find the addresses of some helpful websites on the insert booklet included with this tape.
Okay, now that we've defined our terms, let's take another look at that formula for determining a dealer's cost.
That formula, once again, is invoice price plus advertising fee minus holdback minus factory-to-dealer incentives equals dealer cost.
Okay, let's apply that equation to a hypothetical car buying situation. Say you want to buy a Dodge Power Blazer LX with air conditioning, a 4-speed automatic transmission, and a premium sound system with a CD player, which lists at an MSRP of $24,450. First, you consult a consumer resource magazine to research price information.
You find that the base dealer invoice price on the Power Blazer is $18,000. The invoice price on the air conditioning is $800. The invoice price on the transmission is $1,000, and the sound system with CD player is $200. Then you search for the cost of shipping or freight of the Power Blazer and find out it's $450. And finally, you notice there's an advertising fee for Dodge in your region of the country, which works out to $250. Add up all those figures and you'll come up with $20,700.
But hold on. $20,700 isn't the final cost to the dealer. Remember to factor in holdback and the factory-to-dealer incentive.
Well, in that same consumer resource magazine, you find out that Dodge has a dealer holdback of 3% of the manufacturer's suggested retail price without freight. That figure is $24,000. 3% of that is $720. But don't stop calculating there, because the dealer also receives a factory-to-dealer incentive on the Power Blazer. That incentive is $500. Add those figures and you'll see that the dealer stands to make $1,220 extra on the sale of the Power Blazer. Subtract that figure from $20,700, the total cost to the dealer, and you'll come up with $19,480.
$19,480. That's what the Power Blazer really cost the dealer. And they're trying to snag an MSRP of $24,480. That's a lot of profit.
Now remember, these figures aren't set in stone. There may not be a factory-to-dealer incentive on the model you want. There may not be an advertising fee. The holdback may be calculated off the invoice price instead of the MSRP. Or there may be special package discounts that benefit you. Sometimes manufacturers will bundle options together as a package, and that package will have a special discount. This should be subtracted from the vehicle price, so don't overlook it.
Basically, if you do your homework, you should still be able to calculate the dealer's cost before you actually negotiate price with any dealerships. That way, you'll be armed and ready.
A good rule of thumb is to shoot for a purchase price of 5% over the dealer cost. Now, is this all you need to know? Sadly enough, there are still some more fees you should be aware of before you go head-to-head with a salesperson.
Section C, Other Fees.
Those car dealerships will get you. They'll get you any way they can. They don't mean nothing by it. They're just trying to make a living like everybody else. Just trying to feed their kids, pay for their house, rule the world, just like normal folks. But that doesn't mean that you can't protect yourself. Take note and be wary of all the fees. Fees that you never even thought about that can be tacked on at the dealership.
Taxes.
There are certain fees you can't do anything about, namely taxes. Whenever you buy your car, you'll have to pay state and local sales or business taxes. You'll also have to pay the state's motor vehicle department fees for tags and vehicle title.
Options.
Nothing's for free in this world. Nothing. And if you want your car to have any special perks, you're going to have to pay for them. These special perks are called options. Power windows? You're paying. CD player? You pay. Air conditioning? Open up your wallet, buddy.
During settlement, you'll probably be subjected to considerable pressure to purchase any number of add-ons. Just remember that, like the car itself, the prices for these items are extremely negotiable.
Be wary. Sometimes you agree to certain options, but the dealer doesn't factor their cost into the overall sale price of the vehicle until the closing. Don't be caught off guard in the end. We'll discuss options in more detail later on in the tape.
Processing fee, prep fee.
At most dealerships, a dealer gets a processing fee for doing the paperwork.
Oh, I can take care of that paperwork.
Like hell you can.
Occasionally, dealers charge a prep fee to get the car ready for sale.
I'll just drive the vehicle home now.
Like hell you will.
These fees are little more than a profit enhancer for the dealer. They're not required fees, so if you come across these fees, you should tell the dealer to include them in the overall sale price of the vehicle. If they won't do that, then make sure you keep them in mind when you formulate your offer.
The added dealer markup fee.
The added dealer markup fee, also known as the market adjustment, also known as the added profit. I call it the more money for the dealer fee, or the reach into my wallet and steal money from my children fee. You know, dealers often add this ridiculous fee to the already inflated MSRP. Sometimes, when a vehicle is in high demand, dealers can actually get this fee. But most of the time, the added dealer markup fee and its cousins, the market adjustment and added profit, are just tactics used by the dealer to try and take away more of your money. Don't let him do it.
And that's the lowdown on fees you can rack up at the dealership.
Now that you're familiar with the evils of dealer fees, the illusions of the manufacturer's suggested retail price, and the reality of dealer cost, you're ready to move on. It's time to make a move for those keys. It's time to buy.
Part 3, the purchase. Yes.
The moment of truth has arrived. The research, the pricing, the worrying, the financing, the saving, it's all behind you. You have to wheel and deal. You have to snag a bargain, a steal. But can you do it? Can you? Can you? Can you?
I don't know! I'm sorry. I've got a narrator inside my head.
Section A, low-hassle buying.
Yes, there actually are low-hassle methods of buying an automobile. Just remember, even if you use these methods, it's still imperative that you figure out the dealer's cost to make sure a price is fair. And always make sure you know all the fees. That aside, here are some low-hassle buying alternatives.
Buying services.
A buying service is an outside agency that represents buyers to certain dealerships that have agreed to participate. With a buying service, there is a set, no-haggle price. If you use a buying service, they direct you to a particular dealership for the make of automobile you've selected. These services receive a fee from the selling dealership after a completed transaction, and, miracle of mother-loving miracles, there's no cost to the buyer for the service.
Buying services fall into two categories, those that give you a price up front and those that take your request and then come back with a quote.
The buying services that give you a price up front have already negotiated their prices. When you tell them the model of vehicle you're interested in, they provide you with a list of prices. Then you add up the cost for the model and options you want. Painless, easy, fun.
The buying services that take your request and get back to you with a quote do not have predetermined prices. These places shop your request around to a whole bunch of dealers and present you with the best price. Either that, or the prices they've cataloged change so often that they need time to figure out what they currently are. Then they tell you the price.
In any event, an employee of the service or a representative of the dealership eventually calls you. The catch is this. In order to use this service, you have to be a serious buyer. Both types of buying services urge you not to call them unless you're seriously considering buying a car right away, which makes it pretty difficult for you to have the time to research the price they come up with. Most of these buying services can be found on the World Wide Web or at a local credit union.
Credit unions are a key resource for buying services. Credit unions often belong to the type of buying services that provide vehicle prices for almost every make and model sold. If you belong to a credit union, you can usually obtain the price of the vehicle you want through them. If you think it's a good price, buy your vehicle through that service. The whole process will be super low hassle.
It's a good idea to get at least one or two buying service quotes, because even if you don't buy the vehicle from them, you'll at least know the maximum price you should pay at a dealership. And those are the facts on buying services. Do with them what you will.
No haggle dealerships.
Some people fear confrontation more than anything in the world.
So how much are you willing to pay? Don't hurt me. How about a gajillion dollars?
I'll do whatever you say.
For these people, interacting with a dealer and trying to come to a compromise on price is a nightmare scenario. If you're one of these people, maybe a no-haggle dealership is the best place for you.
No-haggle dealerships are becoming more and more of a trend.
The entire Saturn line of automobiles, for instance, are sold via a one-price, no-haggle dealership network.
If you want a simple, get-in, get-out transaction, then no-haggle dealerships may be your answer. But be wary. Hassle or no hassle, if a no-haggle price at a dealership is excessive, it's not worth it. Make sure you always figure out the dealer's costs to be sure the price is fair.
Brokers.
A lot of us don't traditionally associate brokers with car deal negotiation.
Well, I'll tell you something, Ted. My client is a top-ranked customer, all right? We got dealerships around the country knocking down our door. If you don't want to play ball, we walk.
Now, maybe brokers who negotiate purchases aren't as glamorous as Hollywood super agents, but they can negotiate low-hassle deals for you at a fixed rate.
Basically, you inform the broker of what kind of vehicle you want and how much you want to pay. Then the broker communicates with the dealer for you and negotiates what he thinks is a good deal.
Now, it's true, this is definitely low hassle, but you do have to pay for this service in addition to the vehicle. And if the price the broker comes up with isn't that great, you could be out the broker's fee without a vehicle. Keep that in mind before you spend the extra cash to hire one.
And those are 3 key low-hassle methods. Use them and you probably can save yourself some aggravation and free up more time for important things, like TV watching and fighting crime.
Section B, traditional buying.
The traditional route of buying a vehicle, visiting a dealership and negotiating a deal yourself is America's method of choice. More often than not, this method can yield a price just as good, if not better, than all of the quick-fix, low-hassle methods. And as long as you've done your research and properly prepared, you're in pretty good shape when you step onto that car lot. But there are certain areas that still need to be addressed. Stuff like when to go to a dealership, ordering a vehicle, and the tricks the salespeople sometimes try to pull. In this section, we'll cover all those topics and more.
When to go to the dealer.
If you're well prepared, you can negotiate a good deal just about any time. But there are certain times of the day, month, and year that give you, the buyer, a definite advantage.
First of all, it may be easier to negotiate during the last few days of the month. This is because salespeople are trying to meet their end-of-the-month quotas and are itching to sell. Another great time for making deals is at the end of the day. Salespeople are human, and humans dislike work. During the last few hours of the day, the salespeople will naturally be yearning for home. This is great for you because they'll be ready to compromise just so they can punch that time card. Also a fantastic time during a sale. There are lots of sales near the end of September because dealers are trying to clear out extra inventory before new models begin arriving in October. This works for you because dealers are usually offering extra incentives to sales personnel in order to move vehicles during a sale. The winter months are always a great time to go bargain hunting. During the post-holiday time period, salespeople are recovering from high holiday bills and dealing with high utility bills. They need cash, and they'll be willing to compromise to get it. Even though the winter months are good months to negotiate, the winter is the worst time to buy a 4x4. Just like a snowblower is more expensive when there's snow on the ground, a 4x4 is more expensive when there's a higher demand for off-road vehicles, the winter.
Picking a vehicle.
Once you've figured out when you want to negotiate for a vehicle, you have to figure out where the vehicle you want is located. If the vehicle you want isn't commonly carried by the average dealer, call around and try and locate a few dealers that do have it.
Before visiting dealerships, you should call them on the phone. This way, you'll find the dealers and salespeople that are more forthcoming and easier to work with when you're finally ready to pay a visit.
Once you locate a dealership that carries the car you want, you must take a test drive. Even if you've driven the same vehicle somewhere else, you have to test out this particular vehicle to see if it has any problems. When you examine the vehicle you want, make sure to thoroughly inspect it for any damage. It's in your best interest to pass on a vehicle whose mileage is too high. Any mileage over 200 is probably too much on a new car. This is usually an indication that it's been used as a demo vehicle, and who knows how it's been treated. But if you really want it, insist on an extra discount.
Most importantly, above everything else, be sure to get what you want before you start negotiating. Only when you're completely satisfied that the vehicle you're looking at is the vehicle you want should you begin the negotiation process.
Ordering a vehicle.
If the vehicle you want isn't immediately available at any of the dealerships you visit, you might want to consider ordering one. This can sometimes be an easier way to get a good price. Also, it's a sure sale for the dealership, and they never have to pay interest on the vehicle while it sits on their lot waiting to be sold. The drawback to ordering, you can only order manufacturer-built domestic models. What are you going to do?
Negotiating.
Not all dealerships are difficult when it comes to negotiating. Many dealers are low-key, upfront, and honest. If you stumble across one of these, negotiation should be pretty easy.
I won't pay any more than $18,000.
Done. Cake?
Even if you don't stumble on a friendly dealership, you can still negotiate a good deal. Remember, you've done your homework. You know the cost. You have the upper hand. In a negotiating process, whoever has the power has the upper hand, and that's you. They really want to sell you a vehicle, and you can walk out anytime. Just make sure to stay calm and leave whenever you feel upset or uncomfortable with the process.
If you're still nervous about the negotiation process, here's a few guidelines to help prevent you from being swindled.
Number 1, negotiate the deal in a specific order. First, negotiate the price of your new vehicle, then the price of your trade-in, then the financing. Don't try to tackle too much at once.
Number 2, try to negotiate the bottom line price plus tax, title, and tags, no other fees. If they won't include other fees in their bottom line price, make sure you account for them.
Number 3, allow a fair profit for the dealer. A dealership isn't a charity, and you're dreaming if you think the salesperson's going to sell you an automobile for peanuts. They have to get something out of the deal. They might have kids, and those kids might have Little League dues. In any event, 5% over the dealer's cost is usually a fair goal to shoot for.
And finally, number 4, compare any prices you've already researched to the deal being offered. Show the salesperson these prices and tell them they have to beat them or you're walking.
Dealers do have tricks of their own. They play the game every day, and they're prepared to throw you curves, knuckleballs, and the dealer-patented liar ball. That's why you should pay close attention to
the tricks of the trade.
There are a slew of sales techniques that dealers use to try and confuse you and get the upper hand in negotiations. We're going to walk you through some of the most popular forms of dealer trickery so you can defend yourself against them.
Mixing transactions.
Some dealers will throw more than one transaction at you simultaneously. Their goal here is to rush you and confuse you, thereby getting you to inadvertently agree to a higher price, like this.
Okay, what would you like your monthly payments to be like?
In this scenario, the salesperson tried to mix purchase price with financing. Do not let them mix transactions. It will make prices harder to calculate and take away your leverage.
What do you think? Wait a minute, I'm not falling for that. Let's back it up a bit, buddy.
sign of good faith.
Sometimes, if you're showing signs of interest in an automobile but don't want to commit just yet, a salesperson will ask for a sign of good faith, a down payment to hold the car for you.
Oh, these things are just moving off the lot. I might need something from you to hold it here. What do you say?
Do not give the dealer anything until you're ready to purchase the vehicle. They'll take your sign of good faith and make it very hard to get back. Don't give them a check, a credit card, a driver's license, anything.
You're not getting a nickel out of me.
Holding your trade-in.
Sometimes, the dealer will hold your trade-in vehicle to prevent you from leaving the dealership.
Look, this really isn't for me. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to decline. Where can I find my old car?
Well, it's being appraised right now. Just sit tight for a few minutes, okay, Cupcake?
It can happen. Dealers will repeatedly tell you they'll bring your old vehicle over from wherever it is, all the while trying to convince you to buy the new vehicle. Don't play into it. Demand your car.
I'm sorry, I'm not interested in buying. I want my car back now.
When you arrive at the dealership and they want your keys, give them a spare set and keep your originals. This avoids the problem that results when your keys just happen to get lost after the appraisal drive.
Overpriced, dealer-installed options.
Sometimes a salesperson will include dealer-installed options with your vehicle of choice. Extras you didn't even request.
Okay, that's $89 for state-of-the-art mud flaps, $150 for dashboard overlay, $250 for paint protection.
Immediately tell the dealer to discard these items. Just flat out tell them to take them off the vehicle. If they say they can't or won't, tell them you're not paying for them. Or demand another vehicle that doesn't have them. If they tell you they can't, leave.
I'm afraid I'll need a vehicle without those options.
I don't know if that's possible.
See ya.
Good cop, bad cop.
Good cop, bad cop. Yes, it's cliche. Yes, they use it a lot on TV, and yes, it exists in the automobile business. The salesperson tries to be your buddy and makes the sales manager out as a bad guy.
My sales manager's just not playing ball.
That's too bad, Ted.
Tell me about it. You know, I bet if you came up a little bit in price, I could get him to come down.
You do that for me?
Stand your ground. The salesperson's not your buddy. If you come up $400, they'll come down $100. Sooner or later, you'll find that you've come up a lot more than they've come down. Insist your price is fair. Show your newfound buddy your research prices. Then they'll know they have to deal.
I'm sorry, I'm not coming up with my price. And I hope that doesn't affect our trip to the ballpark, buddy.
Intimidation and pressure.
Some dealers will resort to intimidation or poor me tactics to try and pressure you into coming up on price.
Look, if I sell it to you for this price, we're just not gonna turn a profit. Plain and simple. You're robbing us blind here, buddy.
Don't fall for this. If you've done the proper research, you know exactly how much the dealer will make. You know their costs.
No. See, you're still making a 5% profit off me.
Okay. Lies.
Yep, it's an unfortunate truth that sometimes dealers will flat out lie.
These research numbers are ridiculous. And hold back? There's no such thing as dealer holdback.
Wrong. Don't pay attention to their lies. You've done your research, so you know the facts. Case closed.
That's a lie, and both you guys know it.
Oh, and the earth is round, right?
See ya.
Never lose sight of the fact that you can say no at any point during the process. Do not, under any circumstances, get mad or insulted, because you will play right into the dealer's hands.
And there you have it, the salesperson's bag of tricks. Now, knowing these tactics, you should be a real powerhouse negotiator. But just to stack the deck in your favor a little bit more, here's a few more words of advice for your trip to the dealership.
Words of advice.
Tip number 1, be prepared. Make sure to do your homework ahead of time. If you haven't done your research, nothing can help you at the dealership.
Tip number 2, know what you want and how much you want to spend. Certainty is your friend.
Tip number 3, go with somebody. A little moral support in times of crisis is always helpful.
Tip number 4, keep cool. If you don't like something or are getting upset, leave. It's always better to walk away than to make a hot-headed mistake.
Tip number 5, allow yourself plenty of time at the dealership. If you feel rushed, you're more likely to make a hasty decision.
Tip number 6, dress comfortably but present a good image. You want to feel comfortable enough to wheel and deal for as long as it takes, but don't want to be dressed so casually that the salesman doesn't take you seriously.
Tip number 7, eat beforehand and bring some snacks. Chances are you'll be at the dealer a long time, and you don't want hunger to get the best of you.
Tip number 8, bring a pen, pencil, paper, and a calculator to the dealership. You'll be tossing a lot of figures around, and you'll want to be prepared to do some mathematical double-checking.
Tip number 9, maintain a business-like relationship with salespeople. It'll be easier to stand your ground. Don't become their buddy. That's exactly what they want.
One final point, don't fall in love. If you fall in love with a particular car and you feel you must have it, you're a salesperson's dream come true.
And those are your negotiation tips. If you commit them to memory and then put them into practice, you'll be driving off that lot undaunted with money in your pocket and a smile on your face that shouts, victory!
Section C, closing the deal.
Hopefully, if you've done all your research, followed all the rules, and kept your eyes open to spot dealer tricks, you'll have snagged a pretty good deal. But your purchase won't be over quite yet. You still have to close the deal. Closing the deal is the finishing touch. Here's a few things to bear in mind to make your deal rock solid.
Disclosure of damage.
Always ask if a vehicle has been damaged. Some states allow for a vehicle to sustain damage and be repaired by the dealer without obligation to disclose that information to the buyer.
However, if you ask the dealer directly, they have to answer you truthfully. Make sure you pass on the vehicle if you find out that anything other than minor damage has occurred. If you find out later that the vehicle was damaged and they specifically told you it was not, they'll have to do whatever you want. It's hello lawsuit.
Once you've settled on a price, list all problems and flaws you discovered on the vehicle on the sales order. Then make the closing of the sale contingent on completion of every item on the list.
Add-ons.
Typically, you'll be run past one or more people who'll try to sell you additional items. These items can really add profit for the dealer. Here are some of the items you'll probably encounter.
Extended warranty.
Chances are a salesperson will try and sell you an extended warranty. What they don't tell you is that the odds are in their favor that you won't use an extended warranty. If their vehicle is as quality built and reliable as they repeatedly told you it was, why would you need an extended warranty? Then again, some people love peace of mind. So if you do get an extended warranty, follow these rules.
First off, try to get a factory-backed warranty. Third-party warrantors can often go out of business. Second, remember that an extended warranty can be purchased later. This will give you more time to do thorough research and may make the dealer decide to sell it to you for less.
Undercoating and rust proofing.
Nowadays, vehicles are sufficiently rust-proof as built.
Rust-proofing and undercoating are completely unnecessary.
In fact, improperly applied undercoating can actually lead to rust due to plugged up drain holes. The lesson here, don't purchase rust-proofing or undercoating.
Miscellaneous.
All right, you got your alarms, you got your stereos, you got your tape decks, your CD players, your air conditioning, etc. These options are all pretty enjoyable, and whether or not you buy them is more a matter of personal taste than anything else. But you can probably get better deals and better products elsewhere. Then again, if you're low on funds, you might need to finance these extras along with the vehicle, which you can't do if you buy them all separately.
And those are the details on options dealers might try to push on you. Keep your guard up, and you'll walk away without any unnecessary extras.
Reading the paperwork.
Make sure you read everything they put in front of you to sign. Make sure their figures are correct and that they haven't tried to slip in any additional charges. Question anything you don't understand, and don't be afraid to walk out if you disagree with anything.
Common misconception is that there's a cooling off period, a time after you've signed the paperwork and taken possession of the vehicle when you can return it for any reason. Unfortunately, this doesn't exist. Once you've taken possession of a vehicle, the dealer is not obligated to take it back. So look over that paperwork carefully.
Driving away.
And that's it. If you've done everything right, you can drive your brand new, reasonably priced vehicle off the lot. Congratulate yourself. You've navigated wisely through the treacherous negotiation process and can now drive your new car wherever you like.
If you're not using dealer financing and you don't have your financing check with you, the dealership will have you sign a note indicating that you'll return in a certain number of days with these funds. Also, if you've received temporary dealer tags, the new tags will be mailed to you or sent to the dealership. If this happens, the dealership will give you a call to stop by and pick them up.
Hi, Jerry. It's Bill down at Planet Auto. How you doing?
Oh, hi, Bill. I'm having a great time with all the money I saved on that car.
Yeah. Look, your tags are in, so you can come on down and pick them up whenever you like.
Oh, great.
If there's anything else you'd like to purchase...
Well, that's the sum total of all of our advice. We hope that it's been helpful and that you can snag the best deal possible. If you like our stuff and you have any questions on other topics, why don't you try some of our other no-brainers out on
public speaking, investing, resumes and cover letters, and the internet. Also, if you have any questions about this tape, don't hesitate to call us at 1-800-238-9669. Otherwise, drive safely.
And drive proud.
Introducing another exciting video series from Cerrebellum, the award-winning Standard Deviants. Recommended by university professors and teachers across the nation, the Standard Deviants are helping students everywhere. The Standard Deviants cover all major subjects and present tough course material in an enjoyable and informative video format. Watch as the Standard Deviants help you understand today's most difficult courses, including algebra, accounting, calculus, chemistry, differential equations, English composition, finance, marketing, organic chemistry, physics, psychology, Spanish, statistics, trigonometry, and much, much more. Get started today with the Standard Deviants. Call 1-800-238-9669 to find the store nearest you, or visit us at www.cerebellum.com. The Standard Deviants, 1997 and 1998 15-time Telly Award winner for Best Educational Video.